Okay, so you all know the rules. We are going to ask the next question about the investigator. Is it balanced? Is it fun? And does it fit the vibe of the game? Now, before we begin, we need to explain what the investigator actually does. It is a OG role from Town of Salem 1. Before we even got the Crusader and before we got the Guardian Angels, we had base game, and it was a spectacular role. My friend Captain Niles made an incredible video about his perspective about the investigator, and to be honest, this video is not inspired by his, but I definitely recommend his video. Go watch it. It is spectacular. Now let's explain what the role does. The role is simple. In Town of Salem 1, you would pick a target, and then you would get from a bucket of roles what the target actually is. For example, if you went on number 9 and he was a sheriff, he would show sheriff, executor, or werewolf. And if this was in the Covenant expansion, it would show sheriff, executioner, werewolf, poisoner, etc. It would have a built-in set bucket list of roles that would fit a description of certain roles within the game. Now, obviously, it was affected by deception roles like the disguiser, framer, hexmaster, arsonist, etc. It was a wonderful role. To be clear, this role is not the investigator in Town of Salem 2. In Town of Salem 2, investigator started off with a simple ability to go to a player's house and check if they had blood. Now, having blood at first was, if I remember correctly, if they killed that night specifically. And it was a terrible role. Nobody really liked it. And after a couple of updates, they decided to add, blood now, it lasts 2 nights. So if somebody killed within the last 2 nights, let's say I killed somebody night 1, then I would hold blood for night 1, night 2, night 3, and not night 4. You understand? I could not stop blood from showing. So basically, the best option was to show blood. Oh, and by the way, showing blood basically meant you attacked someone. It doesn't mean that, let me reiterate, showing blood means that you directly attacked someone. Crusaders did not show blood. If you were a attacker who wasn't directly attacking, like Crusader and Jinx, you would not show blood. Jailer would show blood. Serial killer would show blood. Coven killing would show blood. Crusader would not show blood. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about what it did ever since. It got an update where it got a, I wouldn't say useless ability, but it was definitely less popular ability that was called Percept. That's what it was called. Percept, where you basically were a Walmart spy. We're going to talk about spy in a future video, but it relates here because what you would do is you would go to a player's house, you would click the button of Percept. Yeah, it was a little buggy at first, but it worked. And you would have the ability to see all the evil roles that went to that player that night. Meaning, you were basically able to see all the tavern keepers who were not tavern keepers but actually poisoners. All the trackers who were not really trackers but they were werewolves and wildlings. You saw every single fake role on that player, which was not a useful ability, but it was better than just needle in the haystack night 1 blood searching 1 in 14 chance. You basically had less than 6% to find an actual killer night 1. Actually, what was it? 1 in 13, sorry. No, 1 in 14. 1 in 14, excluding yourself. So it would be like 6%, I want to say, 5%, something like that, where you'd be able to find a killer. Was it phenomenal? No. But it was better than just, shooting darts in the dark, because that's what it was. And it was one of those roles that basically wasn't taken seriously. And then Tuba and Curtis decided to come out with their version of what investigators should do in the modded version, which was very popular. You investigated a player. If they, at some point during the game, visited a role that was not on their faction, aka basically evils who visited good people, it would show trespassing. Trespassing is a phenomenal ability. It's what makes Investigator so good. At any point during the game, if you trespassed, it would show. Now, let's look at the other ability, which is to find murder. Murder is basically blood. There's no other way to say it. I think the difference between murder and blood is murder shows even with passive attacks like Crusader and Jinx, and it would stick for the entire game, unlike blood, which would only find direct attacks and it would only show upon players within the last 2 nights range. Is Investigator a lot better? The answer is it became a role that went from bucket searching to needle in a haystack to basically improved seer. One of the things that I have to say where it's more interesting than seer is that you can go on the same player over and over and over again. Now, we went to a extremely deep dive upon the Investigator's history. Let's talk about, is it balanced? And the answer to is it balanced is it's a little bit overpowered. One of the things, like I said before, that makes it better than Seer is that it has the ability to visit the same player over and over again. But it also has another ability. I call it putting players in a bucket. If I went on 13, and 13 has shown trespassing, and 13 said, oh, I'm a cleric, I went on 6, it puts myself, the investigator, let's say 15, 13, the cleric, and 6, all of us into a bucket. Either 6 is fake, and myself and 13 found 6, or 13 is fake, and I found an evil, or if I'm evil faking investigator, I'll be outed. 1 out of 3 is a great power pool for finding evils. Finding no crime is also interesting. This happens from time to time where you have people like Jester, who decides to play Sheriff and say, Sheriff, night 1, 7, sus. And I'm like, whoa, Jester. I was on you night 1. You showed no crime. You are fake. That would save 7 because I am protecting 7 from whatever evil the Jester is trying to do, and it outs the Jester. Now, does that necessarily mean that the Jester is going to be hung over this? Who knows? Many times they will convince the town because town sometimes is sheep, and we all know it. We can't necessarily trust town to do the right thing. Is it balanced? I'm going to say it is balanced. It's a little overpowered the more I think about it, but I think it's a good thing that it's an overpowered role because some overpowered roles need to be in the game. They need to be good. Do I think it needs a nerf? No, I don't think it needs a nerf. Like, you can argue that Investigator needs a nerf, but I don't really want a nerf for Investigator. Some roles are good the way they are. Let's answer the next question. Is it fun? And the answer to that is yes. It is very fun. It has so many abilities. Finding murder and trespassing are both insane, each on their own. And let's talk about one of its other abilities for our ADD pals out there. It has a UI clickable for night 1. It makes you feel like you're doing something. A lot of roles who don't have a UI night 1, night 2, night 3, and they're just sitting ducks, basically feel terrible because like going over logs over and over and over again feels bad. Yes, sometimes you will go over logs so much that you will miss the night. But as investigator, I think it's a good thing because it makes me feel like I'm influencing the game. I'm not just sitting and waiting like a abandoned princess in some abandoned tower, hoping for my shiny knight to come and tell me, oh, 6-9 evil. So yes, it's fun. And we're going to answer the question, does it fit the vibe of the game? We're going to answer this in 2 separate categories within the role. The first one is mechanic-wise. The answer to that is, I think it's a little bit too strong, and I think that's okay, but I think it kind of does. I mean, it does find evils, and it does take the game to the next step. Now, theme-wise, this is where I'm actually going to go a little contrary and say, no, it does not really fit the vibe of the game. Because the whole point between the witch trials of Salem was you had witches, you had trials, nobody was looking for evidence. And that's where the TIs kind of don't fit, and that's where the TIs, especially investigator, are kind of out of their element. Now, does that necessarily mean that it matters? No, not really. But I do feel like I do need to acknowledge that in the video. Because that, you know, I have to be very fair to each role and say, does it fit the vibe of the game? And I think that's about where I'm at. So yeah, that's about it.